I felt like I was studying a lot of theoretical stuff in college, but it really didn't, even though I would have many internships where I would go to court and so on, I never really understood the true meaning of practice. And I think after the UFP, I think at least I know that there are so many different ways in which I can explore my interests. It doesn't have to be in one way alone. And that's why it really feels like a beginning. So that is really exciting. I think that I really used to be the kind of person who would um, really want to understand something fully, and I would be really scared about things not making sense or things just being too complex to wrap my head around. Um, and I think what the entire process has really helped me do is actually sit with that complexity. I think in that way, it's very reassuring to hear it all the time here, that things really are complex. There is no simple answer. And that's something that, I don't know, I found really reassuring throughout. So for me, being able to navigate or unravel or even um, just acknowledge that things will always be complex is a huge step. I think the course, no matter no matter which discipline you come from, I think it really is able to kind of capture your imagination in some ways. Um, and I think all of us were able to find common ground in the subjects that were being taught. The commons layers were great because it was a great introduction to the kind of things that we're meant to be doing later on. Yeah, and I think over the past few months, I've found myself just trying to understand as many things as I can beyond disciplinary boundaries, and it's been great. I think the Commons was a great introduction to the entire thing. It's especially the Commons along with the integrative case weeks. It was a really good combination. Um, I think the Commons was good because even though it came one after the other, they were all connected in so many ways. For instance, by the time we were done with everything and we were going on our exposure visits, we I feel like as soon as we were walking around the city, we were able to see how governance connects to ecology, or how planning connects to identity, or it yeah, and to be able to finally see all of that come together, I think it kind of layered on really well. I mean, one thing that at least the UFP has done is at least it's taught me how to ask questions. And I feel like the faculty is always so receptive of these questions, and it really engages with us on them, kind of sits with us and thinks, helps us think through these things. It really, I almost sometimes felt like I wasn't a student as such. It almost felt like we were doing things together. And that's a great feeling to have, um, especially when you're still learning. We did read a lot in class. We studied a lot of things in class about everything, like about identity or governance or ecology or planning or infrastructure. But it means something very different to actually go and see things in work. Um, and I think now when I walk through a city or whenever I go to a new place, I can see my mind working differently. I'm noticing different things. And I don't think that would have been possible without the fieldwork component. For instance, we had a particular segment on how to observe. At first, it didn't really feel like we were doing anything, but slowly, when we kept going back to the field, I think it all really came together and it. I feel like the course has been able to address some of the most pressing issues of the world that we live in. And it gives you a way to really navigate those problems, but also begin to understand them. So, what is the framework that you use to actually understand some of the problems around you? And apart from that, I think it's also contemporary because um, because simply if things are too complex and if you need a lot of people to be working on it and you need people from different backgrounds and with different ways of looking at the world to actually come together, I think the UFP has taught me how to actually be in that conversation. How do you work together with different people? I think the good thing about um, UFP overall is that it's in an environment where it's not a purely academic space. You know, you're not there. You're also observing other people work. You're also around other people um, doing other things. It's not just you alone in the entire building. And I think that when these events happen, I think it brings us closer to other conversations happening on the things that we're studying or outside of it. I think we're able to meet interesting people, hear from so many people, and also just get a sense of what the current discourse is like. So, for the internship, I'll be focusing on mainly questions of governance and accountability, and also developing frameworks for governance and accountability. Um, and but beyond that, I think in many ways the UFP has actually brought me closer to my discipline, in the sense that in the beginning I wasn't as sure about whether I want to continue my engagement with the law, and it it feels like I feel like with the UFP, um, I'm more certain that I will definitely, or at least I'm thinking about practicing law in the future.